All right, so this video is about the difference between a real world self defense scenario as opposed to sports fighting such as MMA or BJJ. Certainly, BJJ competitions have so many rules that they're by no means simulating a real fight. All right. If you're not allowed to kick somebody in the groin, it's nothing like a real fight. And if you're not allowed to throat jab somebody or gouge their eyes out, it's nothing like a real fight. It might be good for sports, but it's don't tell me that you're simulating a real fight because that's not how BJJ works in a real fight. In a real fight, BJJ does not work at all because you're going to get kicked in the groin or you're going to get your eyes gouged or your throat punched while you're sitting there trying to hug somebody and spread your legs in the guard position around them. All right. That's not how real fights work. Believe me, I've been in a couple of them. All right. Um, Real fights you end up choking somebody out standing up, or you end up knocking them out standing up, or you end up using Japanese jiu-jitsu or aikido or judo to throw somebody, and that's the end of the fight. I've been in several fights, and that's how they all ended. Um, Ranging from when I was about 11 years old all the way up to an adult. Uh, Also, real fights, for example, the school bully always has two or three buddies with him. Trust me. All right. So it's not one on one. You're going to have to either knock him out and scare the hell out of his buddies when you do it, or you're going to have to punch him in the throat or something to end the fight like that. And when they ask you at school, you tell them I feared for my safety because there were three of them against me. All right. I witnessed one time in junior high school. I witnessed a gang of typical black gang, but it was blacks, and I'm not racist, but they were all black, and they had cane poles that they had cut from somewhere back on the back end of campus, and they beat the living hell out of a white guy just because he was white, and not one of the teachers or nobody did anything about it, and nobody called the police. I reported it myself because I saw it happening, but none of the teachers went and broke that up, and they didn't even call the police, and they beat the hell out of John Bailey that lives right over there about 2 miles in that direction. I know where his house is. They beat the living hell out of him. Uh, Assault with a deadly weapon across the face, arms, and back and chest. All right. So that's how real self-defense situations are. It can just be a random act of violence that he did absolutely nothing wrong, and 4 or 5 or 10 of them, however many it was, ganged up on him that day and beat the living hell out of him for no reason. That's how real self-defense is. You have to fight back, and you can't fight back because there's that much many of them than there is you. Real self defense is not a one on one fight. It's always a 1-on-2 or 1-on-3 fight. You got the guy that's attacking you, you got his best friend that's there with him, and you got his girlfriend that's there with him. And they're all going to beat the hell out of you with beer bottles and guns and knives. So it's a hell of a lot harder to game plan for self defense than it is MMA. MMA is a joke compared to a real self defense scenario. A real self defense scenario will scare the living hell out of you. Either you're going to respond correctly and survive it, or you're going to you fall into fear and die. Is what's going to happen in a real self defense scenario. I know I've been there. You're afraid to defend yourself, but it's the only thing you can do. Uh, I got illegally arrested in Chattanooga, and I probably should have beat the hell out of the officers just to let them know I could do it, but I didn't. I chose not to fight back that day, and I went to court, and the judge ruled in my favor and threw out the charges. But what if it had been worse? What if it had turned into something like the Rodney King beating, and I had to kill 2 police officers in self defense that night? What if that had happened? Because then I would have had no proof that it was self defense. They would have the next cop there would have blamed me. But they jumped me and tackled me to the ground, and I did absolutely nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Uh, by the way, getting lost is not a crime while you're driving, police. And being from out of town is not a crime while you're driving. Police, if you're a police officer. And the first thing police want to do is grab you by the nuts for some reason because they think they're looking for a weapon. If I had a weapon, I would have done used it by the time you were close enough to pat me down. All right. So you're stupid. One of the first things I was told when I was a little boy is never let a stranger grab you by the nuts. All right. And the first thing that happened is the police officer wanted to grab me by my nuts. So I had every right to fight back if I wanted to. Uh, that's the first thing police always want to do is stick their hand on your testicles and see how big your dick is, apparently. By the way, carrying a gun is not a crime in this country. You're not even supposed to need a permit. You have a right, not a privilege, a right to bear arms according to the Second Amendment. You're not supposed to need a concealed carry permit. But anyway, real self defense, like I said, involves weapons. A lot of times it's going to be something as simple as a beer bottle or a baseball bat or a chain or a pipe. You better know how to fight when the other guy has a weapon. You better know how to abuse the fact that he has to overswing to hit you, and you make him overswing and miss, and then you have a chance. But if you just stand there and look stupid, you're going to get clubbed in the face or the back of the head. Especially if you're on the ground wrestling with the first guy, and the second guy or his girlfriend or wife or whatever is also there. What are they going to do? They're going to kick you and club you in the back of the head. If you don't believe me, look for the jujitsu street fights. The funny thing is, the jujitsu guys actually get the shit beat out of them. Yeah, they get a lock on somebody's leg, but they got punched in the face 10 times to do it. All right? They got punched in the face 10 times to do it. And they get tackled by the guy's friend or girlfriend, and they get beat up worse than the guy they think they're beating. It's like if you had just punched him in the face once or twice, the fight would have been over and you would have won and you would have been safe. But in reality, you're not safe because his friends show up and kick you in the face. I've been there. It does not work in a fight. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu does not work in a street fight. You're going to get killed if you try that.